And I think with one more win, we'll end up at 900, which will be a fun little milestone to hit. Done. So D4, and like I said, we'll respond to D4 with D5, and then probably go into the Queen's Gambit declines. So notice that he's playing extremely quickly. He's going to castle, and that's fine. Figure out where we want to put this bishop, either E7, D6, E7 or D6. Or we could even play C5, kind of like a reverse Queen's Gambit. And if the pawn takes, bishop takes, and otherwise we can actually go right into C4 and push that pawn forward even further. Yep, and that allows us to develop the bishop, and both sides will subsequently castle. And we're actually in the Colle system right now. We're actually in the Colle system. This knight is a little annoying, but I'm not too worried about it. Maybe knight to d7, and then after pawn pushes, well, nah. Knight, this knight, this knight. We'll develop our knight to c6 and attack this knight. After f4, that would create a pretty nice little weakness on the dark square diagonal. So there we go. Solid control over the center so far, nothing too crazy. And now both sides will castle? Or is he going to continue? Yep. So both sides will castle. So. He does play f4. I have to think this could end up being quite bad for him. I see some tactics already, but what's the right move? Well, I think we want to attack b2. That's my whole thing. Something like b8 prepares this idea where I can push this pawn, but actually queen b6 would threaten this pawn here. And if he defends with, let's say, the rook, bishop takes back, queen takes on b. Yeah, queen takes here. And that line gets messy because then bishop d4, right? So if you're following me, bishop d4, and then if queen takes back, there's a bishop sack, which could be kind of interesting too. Okay, another idea would be queen d6. Let's just develop the rook to the open file. Basically just looking to take over the b file. And later on, we can consider ideas of basically taking on f4 because of this discovered attack. This rook is defending quite nicely now. Let's push the pawn. Let's push the pawn, and then after he pushes here, do we push again? I'm curious. Okay, he's looking for immediate ideas of victory, but I'm not necessarily worried about this either. So if bishop takes, the knight just takes back, and then we're just winning. And I'm also the rook is defending the queen, which is important as well. And if bishop takes back, and b2 is hanging, and then we can always just play g6. So I'm not freaking out over this attack because the knight is defending. We're not overextended on h7 at all. Bishop takes. Let's get the rook back to a safer position. And so notice that I could just play rook b2 on the spot and win this pawn, but a better idea is queen b6, threatening the rook, pinned to the king. You have to defend the rook, and then b2. So let's say something like queen e2. I can play queen b2, and now after the knight moves, which he doesn't even really have any good squares, this rook would be undefended. So maybe queen e1 is what our opponent's looking for. But even in that situation, watch out for knight g4. This is completely resignable already. Completely resignable. And I'm thinking maybe g4 works, but also maybe d5 works. I don't think it necessarily matters. He just gives up the rook. Gotta be careful. Like I said, you don't want to end up putting the queen behind this bishop because bishops sack and we lose the queen. So like he's it's so tricky. Like if I was obviously like a lower rated player, I'd maybe consider attacking the rook, but bishop takes on h7 and we're just losing. So instead, okay, I almost have knight to g4, which would be really nice, but notice the queen can just play this. Um, then of course I do have e5 push after queen takes back attacking the rook. I have knight g4, and that could be kind of nice. This could be kind of nice. And the whole point is that I'm releasing the bishop on g4 as well, which means now my knight can access g4 without being taken by the queen and threatening this forking idea and maybe threatening smothered mate. Let's do that. Let's threaten smothered mate. Let's just go ahead and threaten smothered mate. The whole idea here is that we'll have check, the king will move over, and then we'll play knight h3. And if the king moves to f1, we have mate in 1. So king would move back to h1, queen sack on g1, and after the queen takes, knight, well, I guess knight would be taken back by the queen. Usually you can do that with a rook. So that wouldn't actually work. Still, we're threatening a fork on the queen, and if he moves off of the first rank, it's probably checkmate anyway. Though I would love to hit a smother mate in one of these games. Yeah, we got it. So there's actually, it's actually okay. So hear me out, guys. Um, queen to c1 isn't mate because the queen can just back up again. Knight check, king moves over, knight check, double check on the king. If king moves here, it's mate in 1. So follow me. Knight f2. And in this situation, it's best to sacrifice the queen and then take back the knight. Yep. Here comes double check. If the king moves backwards, we have checkmate on the spot. And it is a smothered mate as well because the king would have nowhere to go. If king goes to f1, I also have checkmate here on g1. Ooh, that was freaking smooth. That was nice. That was a really nice checkmate.